In today's episode, we're going to break down the meaning of love and what is love and how to love. And this is the best way to love. Find out what the other person prefers in terms of their love language and deliver it. That's literally it. The 5 languages of love are words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. People spend more money on love and sex than they do on anything else. Be cautious in expecting love from that person because, again, in my opinion, this person doesn't have the capability to love and probably doesn't even know what love is. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Good Problems to Have with David Nima. I'm your host, David Nima. I am a lifestyle coach and what I consider to be a happiness expert. I'm the author of the book, Good Problems to Have, The Anatomy of Contemporary Happiness. Pick up a copy on Amazon. And if you like this content, make sure to like and subscribe to GPH Lifestyle on YouTube and Instagram. In today's episode, we're going to break down the meaning of love and what is love and how to love. And that's what we want to discuss today. Love is another one of those huge buzzwords, right? It is so widely used and widely discussed, and it's kind of the reason for a lot of decision making in the human condition. Love has been just used as a rationale for so much action and conduct throughout history. I mean, wars have been started because of love, right? Not to mention our own personal kind of trials and tribulations when it comes to love. And, love is, people spend more money on love and sex than they do on anything else, for love and sex than they do anything else. I mean, we, as one of the most emotional animals on the planet, human beings, love is just such a significant emotion that we all kind of strive for, and it's very fulfilling. It's really fun to love. Love is very fulfilling. And love is a good thing. Love is a very, very good thing. But let's talk about it. And let's talk about, what is love? Like, how does love break down? How can you tell the difference between love and something else, right? And I think that's a good kind of discussion to have. So, as I discussed in chapter 3 of Good Problems to Have, which is dedicated to the word, to love, the sensation of love or the condition of love, my perspective is that love breaks down into the 5 languages of love. The 5 languages of love are words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. Okay? So that means, and what does that mean? And that means that, the way at least I evaluate whether I love, whether I'm expressing my love, or whether I'm receiving love from anybody, right? The way I evaluate, let's just say my neighbor tells me that they love me, right? And they say, David, I love you, right? And I want to decide what he really means. Like, what does my neighbor really mean when they say, I love David? And I'll ask myself, does my neighbor give me words of affirmation or compliments? Does my neighbor spend quality time with me? Does my neighbor provide me gifts? Does my neighbor do acts of service for me? And finally, does my neighbor engage in physical touch with me? Now, of course, with my neighbor, for example, it may not be, desirable to have a lot of physical touch with that kind of love. But if we're spending a lot of quality time together, we're performing acts of service for each other, or, he's doing it for me, let's just say, and he's providing me gifts, and he's constantly giving me words of affirmation, I don't need the physical touch. I'm seeing 4 out of 5 languages of love being expressed here. And I think I can conclude that, yeah, my neighbor actually does love me according to at least what the 5 languages of love define as love. So that's a good kind of filter or spectrum through which you can analyze your love for others and other people's love for you. With my romantic partner, for example, I would say that words of affirmation are going to be certainly part of the love equation. Acts of service will certainly be part of the equation. Quality time, will be spending quality time together. I would want to spend quality time together. Receiving gifts, and in that case, physical touch would also be involved as part of our expression of love towards each other. Let's just say with a family member, for example, a family member like my uncle. Let's just say with my uncle, certainly words of affirmation. We can spend. I would like to spend quality time together, receiving gifts, acts of service, and yes, physical touch. We might give each other a hug, right, upon meeting each other, seeing each other. So, or even a high five or a handshake can be, part of physical touch. But the point is that, none of these kind of languages of love, they're not all required. And my advice to you would be that if you want to show your love for somebody, you want to speak through these terms. You want to express your love through these 5 languages of love. And I think to take it one level further, you want to see what the person that you love, the subject of your love, which language is best for them. Some people don't like physical touch as much. Some people like words of affirmation more. Some people love gifts. Some people don't really care for gifts. Acts of service may mean a lot to certain other people. To others, they don't really feel like having somebody provide an act of service to them, but they would really enjoy just spending quality time with the person. So you want to kind of tailor your expression of love based on what the recipient enjoys more. And then, of course, you want to also tailor it in terms of the setting. If you're in the workplace, for example, you can still spend quality time, but you want to be a little bit careful about gifts and physical touch, right, in the workplace. You can still love your coworker. And you can show that love through acts of service, through words of affirmation, particularly, I think would go a long way in the workspace. So this is kind of how you want to kind of use the language of love to not only kind of decipher whether the other person telling you they love you, do they really mean it, or do they know how to love? Right? Do they know how to love? Like, that's really, I think that's the second part of this chapter, talking about how to love, using the languages of love. And some people, frankly, don't know how to love. They have never really learned. I mean, they use the word love, but they don't really think about what love means, what is love, and how they can actually express their love and how to receive love. So that's kind of the rundown here in terms of love and how to love, using the 5 languages of love. And I think one of the most useful aspects of this analysis is to really decide whether or not it's some people, you're in a relationship and other people use the word love very kind of loosely, and they say, oh yeah, I love you, Stephanie, for example. And but I mean, does that person really love you? Are they really kind of expressing their love, like through are they giving you words of affirmation? Are they spending quality time with you, or are they always busy? Are they giving you gifts? Are they providing acts of service? Do they even know what your love language is? Do they know that you like physical touch more than you like gifts? And they're kind of playing to that spectrum rather than fighting against it. I mean, that's how to love. That's literally how to love. I mean, loving someone is one of the best things that you can do for yourself, and to be filled with love. And, it's definitely not transactional like a lot of people make it. And this is the best way to love. Find out what the other person prefers in terms of their love language and deliver it. That's literally it. And it's a great way to love, in my opinion. And one of the last things I'll say about love is, as a litmus test in terms of, whether or not a person is capable of love, in my opinion, the ultimate litmus test of whether or not this person is capable of love is whether or not they have self-love. Now, I discussed self-love in chapter 2 of Good Problems to Have, and kind of the formula for self-love, which is self-awareness, self-acceptance, and love, essentially. Self-awareness, self-acceptance, and self-love. And so, you know, I think anyone that's listening to this that wants to love wants to make sure that they themselves have gone through the self-love analysis and they've reached self-love. I mean, you got to reach self-love. I discuss in the book how regardless of your past, you can have self-love. You are worthy. You're worthy of love. You are lovable. And I encourage you to practice that and kind of lean into that by loving yourself. It's certainly a prerequisite for loving others. I don't care if it's a romantic partner or if it's a family member or if it's a sibling or children. You know, people think they love, but until they have reached self-love, they're not capable, in my opinion, not capable of love. It's certainly a prerequisite to love. And I think if you're, you know, in a romantic relationship with somebody and they're telling you they love you, but they don't love themselves, I think you can probably conclude that they don't even know what love is. Not to mention that they're not capable of actually loving you. And one of the best ways to find out if someone loves themselves is just ask them, hey, you know, David, do you love yourself? And you'll see how they respond. Unless they respond with an enthusiastic yes, because they've been practicing self-love over time and it's ingrained with them. If they say like, oh yeah, of course, like, you know, if they kind of give you, you'll get cues, you know, I mean, you can probably read their body language and determine whether or not. Some people will tell you straight up, no, I don't love myself. And I think that's something to be consider. And then, you know, but just ask people, hey, do you love yourself? And, you know, listen for their answer, because they will tell you. And if they don't give you a kind of a reassuring 100%, a reassuring yes in terms of self-love, be careful in, you know, expecting love. Be cautious in expecting love from that person, because again, in my opinion, this person doesn't have the capability to love and probably doesn't even know what love is. One or the other is certainly there, because otherwise self-love should be achieved. So, you know, practice self-love, and I think take a look at, you know, consider love through this lens in the spectrum, because I think it's very beneficial. And the reason for that is because like I said, a lot of people use the word love or the feeling of love or the desire for love to do things or make other people do things. So you just want to be careful. I'm not saying don't do things because of love. You should, you can, but, you know, analyze that and make sure that it's actually love. You know, it's the kind of love that you want. So I love you all. Thank you for listening to this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, or love and subscribe this video, and share it with people that you love to get their perspectives about love and whether or not they have self-love and love for you or love for others. And I hope you guys all have a lovely day. I'm David Nima, host of the Good Problems to Have podcast. Follow us at GPH Lifestyle on Instagram and YouTube, and I will see your lovely faces on the next episode.